Mattie, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what inspired you to start Hempitecture.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, great to have this conversation today. Excited to share a little bit about what we do at Hempitecture. My name is Mattie. I'm the founder and CEO of Hempitecture, and we're out to solve a big problem in the built environment. And that problem is that our buildings are responsible for about 40% of our carbon emissions. So we set out to create low carbon, high performance building products. In realizing this problem, there's a bit of a backstory, and that starts with my time as an architecture student studying architecture and environmental sciences. My senior year of college, I did a thesis study that I called The Contemporary Relevance of Earth Architecture. I looked at different building materials and methodologies used really across the world that predated the Industrial Revolution and learned that there was a commonality, of course, that today seems quite obvious. People built with the earth. They built with materials that were around them. And in looking at different building methodologies like rammed earth, building with straw, building with crops, building with stone, I really was attracted to the potential of building with rapidly renewable resources, particularly flax, hemp, bamboo, kenaf, jute. And one of the things that really excited me was understanding that industrial hemp really had this prevalence of use across different climate zones, across different regions, from Japan to what is today now northwestern Europe to North America. And I thought, wow, what an exciting opportunity to revitalize in our modern days, utilizing a crop that grows with little water, pesticides, fertilizer, can be grown in 60 to 90 days and be grown in all these different climate types. So I was actually so excited about this that I went to my architecture professor. I said, I'm going to redo my thesis study and make it all about industrial hemp. And she was like, why don't you channel your enthusiasm for that in a different pathway? So in 2013, I stood on stage at my college's pitch contest presenting the earliest concept of hempitecture, which is a little bit different than what hempitecture does today. But that core idea remains using bio-based, plant-based resources to reduce the embodied and operational carbon of our built environment. So fast forward, did some business competitions, had a little bit of success, some traction, but this was 2013, 5 years before industrial hemp was federally legal in the United States. So the joke often was, let me get this straight, you're trying to build houses out of a Schedule One substance. Well, yes, that was true at the time. Kind of saw the writing on the wall that this would become an industry that was legal in the United States and wanted to be on the forefront of. So in 2018, joined up with my now co-founder and former high school classmate, Tommy Gibbons, and we kind of brought our different backgrounds together to kind of realize a vision of making bio-based materials scalable in the format of one-to-one replacements. So what does Hempitecture do today? We manufacture bat insulation, board insulation, but we use industrial hemp fiber and other natural fibers to create products that are in a format that you can make the choice to swap out fiberglass, the itchy pink stuff that goes in your walls, with a bio-based, natural, non-irritating material. So it's been a long journey from the earliest days of 2013 to where we are today. But with my co-founder, with the team that we've built, we've created a business that we think is really ready to transform the built environment for the betterment of both people and planet.
What are the issues with current day fiberglass based installations? Are there any other installations out there too that I don't know about? And how does this improve on both the environmental impact and potentially performance too?
Yeah, so great question. We often compare our products most to kind of two incumbent product categories, fiberglass and mineral fiber. And these are both fiber-based materials. They are used for insulation, and they have some drawbacks to them. One of the biggest challenges with both fiberglass and mineral fiber is that they're made from, in the case of fiberglass, glass, or in the case of mineral fiber, rock. To turn those materials into fiber, they have to use a furnace. That furnace is heated up thousands of degrees to melt these materials, which has a massive embodied carbon footprint to it. So while the products are designed to save energy, they're emitting a massive amount of energy in the manufacturing process. For Hempitecture, we are harnessing the power of photosynthesis. We have a free furnace that's in the sky, the sun, and that is used to grow our crops, industrial hemp, which then lends to a product that is, of course, more carbon sensitive, actually carbon negative, but also safe to handle, safe to touch. When you are installing an incumbent material, whether it's fiberglass or mineral wool, you have to have your skin covered. You have to have respiratory protection. The materials are very abrasive. They get in your skin. They're very irritating. If you're installing a material in your home that you can't touch with your bare skin, do you really want that on all surfaces of your home? Often I think it's out of sight, out of mind. Usually you don't see insulation. But I think, especially post-pandemic world, people are thinking a lot more about the health of their built environment. People spent so much time at home and they said, what's in my walls? What is contributing to my indoor air quality? So our products really exist at the nexus of course, reconciling embodied and operational carbon, but being healthier alternatives that really solve some of the challenges of conventional building materials.
One of the challenges with anything that's, organic and naturally derived is, there's a consistency in fiberglass, right? You're getting every time. What are the challenges in kind of supply chain and development of this product? And are there any inconsistencies because of the natural aspects?
Yeah, so when you're working with bio-based resources, there definitely are going to be differences between different lots of industrial hemp fiber. We source our hemp fiber from really two regions, Idaho and Montana. They have similar climates, yet they're different. They have similar soil types, yet they're different. So you're going to see some variation in the output materials of crops grown in different regions. That's, of course, natural with bio-based materials. Our manufacturing process is designed to normalize the variation between those different feedstocks from Idaho and Montana. So our process really relies on opening the fibers, refining the fibers, individualizing the fibers, removing impurities, and then when we are forming the actual insulation materials, we're often blending these two different sources to also result in kind of a normalized material matrix that results in equal performance that is not beholden to sort of the climactic or soil type differences or even the water. Maybe one region it rained a lot more than the other. So our process is designed to normalize the fibers and result in even performance across the board.
In terms of performance, are there any benefits beyond what you would traditionally get from a fiberglass-based insulation? And then in terms of longevity, does this last as long as a traditional fiberglass material would?
Yeah, great question. One thing that I think is important to kind of encapsulate and set the stage on is we're the first mover in the United States. We're the first company in the United States to build a hemp insulation manufacturing facility. We are essentially doing this from a blank slate in the US, but it's not from a blank slate globally. Countries across the world have used hemp-based resources to make insulation, to make home building materials for quite some time now. So there's already a great precedence of use. And our products are designed for the useful life of a building. And at the end of a useful life of the building, they create less harm on the built environment through biodegradation, lack of contributing to landfill waste. So they are optimized for, that lifespan of materials. The other thing that I would say is using crops or plant fibers. I think people often think of like something that can break down. We fortify the potential of the already great potential of natural fibers to be long lasting, to be value added, to have improved performance characteristics. So our approach is to create long lasting, high performance building materials that do little harm or no harm to the earth.
The other most important thing to folks, right? There's obviously a housing shortage in the United States. Housing costs are, feel like they continuously are going up. And so there's always that fear of adding an additional cost to housing production or buildings. From a cost perspective, how does this compare to products that are already on the market? I'd love to hear your thoughts there.
Yeah, definitely recognize that in the built environment, people are really often comparing products on not just a performance basis, but a cost basis. Today, we have one manufacturing location in South Central Idaho. And part of the reason why we're fundraising now and plan to continue to fundraise in the future is to grow our manufacturing footprints, to increase scale, to increase operational efficiency, to bring down that cost over time. So today we are at a slight price premium against these conventional incumbent products. I think contextualizing that these companies that are producing the incumbent materials, they're regional. They have regional manufacturing facilities for a reason. They can reach the end customers with less transportation costs, which of course results in less carbon emissions. That's a model that we're following and part of why we're raising, setting up regional facilities with actually a pretty low capex model that is kind of hard to compare to the very high capex model that the fiberglass or mineral wool insulation companies have to deploy and employ to bring their products to market. So over time, absolutely the goal is to bring the cost down and be competitive. And I think, Chris, there's another kind of interesting wrinkle. Part of our value proposition is we make carbon negative building materials. Today, it's not fully borne out, but I think it will continue to be borne out. But there's a value to carbon. There's a value to storing and sequestering carbon in building materials. And whether that's carbon avoidance credits or carbon capture credits, there might be a way in the not so distant future to monetize those credits to actually offset the cost of our product, provide value to the customer in the form of a carbon rebate that I think will ultimately be really compelling, because that brings our products, if not to parity, even below. And I think that will be a big driver of adoption and scale for our products in the United States.
When you think about kind of adoption, you've had millions in sales. You guys are doing really well. What has been kind of your sales strategy to date? And as you think about scaling this up from, a couple million of revenue a year, what things need to happen to start taking you to 5 million, 10 million plus in revenue?
Yeah, great question. The conventional wisdom in building materials is to partner with distributors to sell B2B, and there is absolute validity to that conventional wisdom. However, Hempitecture started with a very different model. We custom built a technology platform that makes it easier than ever before for customers, no matter where they are across the United States, to buy insulation factory direct. What that does for us is it cuts out the middleman. It allows us to extract the most margin possible from the sale of our products and deliver direct to customers. This is a custom-built technology platform that integrates with freight APIs and actually is really a technology-enabled advantage to our business that I think differentiates us from other building material manufacturers and resellers. So again, that model of D2C is kind of unique, but it also results in more so one-off sales, generally kind of smaller cart sizes. And that's something that we absolutely recognize. Today, we're very much so focused on residential, but 2025 is an exciting year for us because we're catalyzing our ability to sell into commercial, multifamily, industrial, and high-density urban residential. In doing that, that enables more B2B relationships, larger cart sizes, larger offtake agreements that will really drive scale in the business. We are achieving this through unlocking code compliance certifications that honestly are just super costly to invest in. As a small startup business, we invested in the certifications that allow kind of the low-hanging fruit markets to be addressed. But as we move towards these larger total addressable markets, investing in these certifications is absolutely key. So we're looking forward to 2025 and seeing our products used in not just beautiful one-off high-end homes to tiny houses and everywhere in between, but in these larger use cases where there's clients out there. Think of the kind of corporate juggernauts of the world, and I'm not going to name them by names, but all of these companies, despite potential administration changes, societal changes, they are investing in ESG programs. They are committed to reducing the embodied carbon of their facilities and their footprints. And I think our products fit very well in that model.
In terms of who's to date been purchasing your product, What does your kind of core customer look like? I don't know. Are there any threads that kind of go through them that give you a sense of the type of customer that's going to be interested in this?
For us, the early adopter customers were people that were either focused on two things, sustainability or health. And often we find that health can lead, but sustainability follows. If you have a healthy material, often it's made sustainably. Some of our kind of target markets and key customers early on were really kind of high-end custom designed homes designed by world-renowned architects. We fit into some really, really exciting, cool projects designed by architects that you might see on the cover of Architectural Digest. For us, that was a great way to kind of get our products into the market. But as we were able to get into those segments of really high-end custom residential, smaller segments have followed. We have people buying our insulation that are doing their own home renovation, and they ripped out the itchy pink stuff and they said, gosh, that was so terrible, I don't want to use this again, all the way down to tiny homes. So we run quite a gamut across our key customers, but again, those are the early adopters. As we have created a few million in revenue, and we intend to scale that over time, getting these B2B relationships in place and selling to more institutional clients. Think of the corporate clients, think of the large scale construction, general contracting companies, think of the multi-hundred home builders, all the way down to the modular home building segment. In fact, a lead investor in our first round is a modular home building company called Onyx Homes. And last year they built 600 homes. As we scale up our products and increase our ability to deploy into those offsite segments, those are going to be key offtake agreements for us that allow us to really grow our capacity utilization, sell out our manufacturing facilities, and run multiple shifts so we can generate the maximum revenue potential at each manufacturing footprint.
What will be the challenges of selling into those groups? I know you talked about there's certifications you have to have that you're working on now. Once all of that's in place, what are some of the next challenges that'll be required to kind of get over the hump and start actually getting adoption within some of those groups?
Yeah, I think education is absolutely key. Getting in front of these stakeholders to explain, hey, there is a precedence of these products being used internationally. It might be unique and different in the United States. But I think, education is a super powerful tool to build confidence. But of course, certifications also build confidence. So we're investing in those. Following the certifications, one thing that we're seeing more and more is a request for environmental product declarations. Environmental product declarations, or EPDs, as they're referred to, really help certify the carbon sequestration or avoidance in a product. When a large-scale buyer is contemplating a new material, they're going to look at a few factors. They're going to look at price, they're going to look at performance, and then maybe last, depending on the client, they're going to look at the carbon comparison. So I'm considering using incumbent material A, and I'm considering hemp wool insulation. What is the carbon delta there? And is this worth the investment to meet our carbon ESG goals? I think at the end of the day, if we have a price competitive product, which we're absolutely striving towards, it becomes a no-brainer. The idea of using a bio-based natural material that is carbon negative with equivalent or better performance, that will be a huge driver of adoption and scale.
You talked about capacity and utilization of your current facilities. How large do you think you can be with your current facilities, and what does the investment look like to be able to scale beyond that?
Yeah, great question. So kind of the math behind the scenes here is how much can we produce in one day, and what is the selling cost of the unit of measurement? Generally, we think of it by the square foot. And then if we run one shift, what does that look like? If we run two shifts, what does that look like? If we run 24 hours a day, what does that look like? The revenue generation capacity from our existing Idaho manufacturing facility is around $7.5 to $10 million. That range is reflective on different product mix, direct manufacturing for toll manufacturing clients, which might be lower margin, higher volume. So that's how we think about the revenue generation capacity of one footprint. As we think about other manufacturing locations, we, are looking towards federal and state funding, which have been really successful in receiving. We have 8.4 million earmarked from the Department of Energy to build a manufacturing facility in northeastern Tennessee. That is over half the cost of a high output production facility. So we've created a blueprint in Idaho that can be replicated. As we replicate that blueprint, we can also expand on the revenue generation capacity of those footprints to maximize revenue generation potential. For instance, I mentioned that $7.5 to $10 million revenue threshold for our Idaho facility. The Tennessee facility is designed to be somewhere between 10 to 15 million in revenue generation capacity per footprint. I mentioned earlier, we have a relatively low CapEx model. A fiberglass manufacturing facility might cost $250 million base. We can build a very compelling facility for $10 million, which I think is an exciting prospect. For our Tennessee facility, this 8.4 from the Department of Energy, we received 1 million from Tennessee Department of Ag. That's going to be one of the most sophisticated biofiber processing facilities in North America, and that really involves kind of a vertical integration of field to foreign commodity to lower costs and increase our ability to sell across all these segments that we mentioned are really important for us.
As we try and think about the addressable market opportunity here from your perspective in the next 5-10 years, obviously these things take a while to be adopted. How large is the insulation market today, and what percent of that do you think have become, hemp-based products in the future?
I think one thing that's important to kind of keep in the back of our minds is Hempitecture's go-to-market strategy is in the built environment and in the thermal insulation segment, which is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. However, our manufacturing technology is really versatile. As we increase our manufacturing footprints and as we continue to invest in the manufacturing footprints we have, we're adding machinery and components and technology that allow us to address larger industries, which of course, not larger industries in terms of size, but broader industries outside of just the built environment. Here's a great example of this. Today, we're already producing insulation for a segment that when we set out to build our first factory, we weren't entirely thinking about. That segment is cold chain insulation. Think of Blue Apron or HelloFresh or Sunbasket. These companies ship perishable goods in insulated boxes. We're providing a bio-based sustainable alternative for EPS or XPS foam that's going in these boxes. And that was a segment that we unlocked in 2024. It's kind of a new toll manufacturing segment for us and a driver of our revenue. As we look to continually increasing our capabilities, one of the areas that we're really excited about and looking towards, and is actually incorporated in our Department of Energy proposal, is the idea of natural fiber composites. To kind of step back for a second, our production technology is essentially taking fibers and combining them together in various weights, thicknesses, and depths. Fiber matrices treated with the resin are thermoformed and used in the automotive segment in a huge way. If you peel apart your car, you're going to see multiple layers of nonwovens, which are fibrous structures. So the idea of taking natural fibers and bringing them into the automotive segment is novel in the United States, but it's happening already in Europe. Porsche, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, they've already adopted natural fiber composites in their automotive components to lighten vehicles, to decarbonize vehicles, and increase the performance of vehicles. So that's a market in the future that we're really excited to address with our increased manufacturing capabilities.
For those who are on the line, they're thinking about investing, but they're not there yet, I'll give you the last word. What would you say? What do you want them to know?
I would say that Hempitecture has been a really diligent steward of the capital that we've received. In 2021 into 2022, we set out with a vision. That vision was to build the first natural fiber, hemp fiber insulation manufacturing facility in the United States. We achieved that vision and accomplished everything that we promised in our first round. And we're raising today to increase our capabilities, increase our capacity, increase the markets that we can serve. And I think with our track record of success, you can be really confident as a prospective or current investor in Hempitecture that we will execute on our vision. I think that's also validated through the state and federal support that we've received, ranging from New York State with NYSERDA funding, 1.1 million, Tennessee Department of Ag, 1 million, to Department of Energy, 8.4 million. A lot of great stakeholders are coming in to invest and support in hempitecture. And I think that also adds value to our future and perspective, as well as current investors, to understand that their investment is being leveraged against investment from state and federal resources that's non-dilutive. So an investment in hempitecture is a great, I think, bang for your buck, a great potential return on investment. And we also see that natural materials, sustainable materials, decarbonized materials are growing and are going to take a continued larger and larger market size across these different industries. So yes, it's early. Yes, we're the leader in this, but I think we're on the leading edge of a trend that is going to be very prolific within the United States.